The morning sun filtered through the tall trees of the Woodland Park Zoo, casting long golden streaks across the gorilla enclosure like God was trying to highlight something sacred. "Get the calming meds now. She's acting strange again," came a tense voice over the walkie-talkie, shattering the peace. Emily Harper, lead zookeeper for nearly a decade, froze where she stood. Her eyes followed the slow, deliberate steps of Kira, their 30-year-old Western lowland gorilla matriarch. There was something hauntingly different about her. Kira wasn't just walking, she was moving with intention, clutching her 4-month-old daughter Luma tightly to her chest as she approached the thick viewing glass that separated animal from man. Emily's heartbeat quickened. In all her years working with great apes, she had never seen a gorilla walk like that, as if carrying not just her baby, but a burden too heavy for the world to see. A hush fell over the enclosure as other primates stepped back, sensing Kira's tension. "Why today, girl?" Emily whispered to herself. Kira's movements weren't wild or aggressive. They were filled with something even more unsettling. Sorrow, the kind that leaks from the soul when there are no more tears left. As the mother gorilla reached the glass, something in her eyes caught the light. It wasn't rage. It wasn't fear. It was a plea. A deep spiritual ache that cried out, "Help me." Even the wildest hearts mourn, and their cries echo in the stillness of creation. The whole creation groans this scene. This moment was about to turn into a viral YouTube story that would ripple across the internet and shake the very foundations of human understanding about the animal kingdom. A touching animal story was about to become a spiritual reckoning. Jake Martinez, Emily's assistant, had just reviewed the logs when his voice cracked over the radio. "She hasn't eaten in 3 days, he said. "She's been crying, not just vocalizing. It sounds human," and he was right. The soft hoots and chest rumbles of Kira had taken on an edge-low, mournful pleading. Emily knew something was deeply wrong. Kira had raised 4 healthy babies before, always gentle, protective, calm. But with Luma, the mother was unraveling. She paced endlessly, eyes always scanning, arms curled tightly around her fragile infant as if shielding her from unseen danger. The way she sat and stared into the distance, rocking herself like a grieving woman, it tore at Emily's soul. "She's mourning something she can't even name," she thought. Biting her lip, Dr. Alan Reed had done full checkups, no fever, no wounds, no infections. "Maybe she's just anxious," he had shrugged. "Even seasoned mothers get nervous sometimes." But Emily wasn't convinced. "It's more than nerves," she whispered. "She's asking us for something. I just don't know what." The bond between mother and child is not limited to humans. It's a sacred thread woven by God into every living being. As a mother comforts her child, so will I comfort you. Visitors passed by unaware, taking selfies and sipping coffee. But in the silence between the camera clicks, a sacred drama was building, a story of animal miracle and emotional true survival waiting to unfold. The heartwarming animal video they would one day watch and share with millions had just begun. It was a quiet Tuesday when everything unraveled. Only a few visitors had trickled into the zoo that morning, including Linda Suarez, known affectionately among the staff as Gorilla Grandma, a retired nurse who came daily just to see Kira. She had a way of reading the gorilla's moods like lines on a patient's chart. "Emily," she called softly, "look at how she's holding the baby." Emily turned, and what she saw sent ice through her veins. Kira wasn't holding Luma to her chest anymore. She was lifting her, arms outstretched toward the glass. Toward Linda. "Oh my God," Emily whispered, snatching her radio. "Get Dr. Reed now." Kira stepped closer, her massive hand gently pressing against the glass, aligning with Linda's. The crowd fell silent. Emily held her breath. And then it happened, something no one could ever have expected. Kira pushed her baby forward as if trying to give her to the human on the other side. There is no fear in love. Perfect love casts out fear. This wasn't just maternal instinct. This was trust, unspoken, wild, raw. Kira believed somehow that humans could save her child. A wild bond unlike anything science could explain. Cameras clicked. Phones shook in trembling hands. Somewhere, someone started to cry. This wasn't just a dramatic wildlife rescue. This was something sacred being torn open, the soul of a mother. Pleading through inch-thick glass, the next few hours unfolded like a nightmare. Dr. Reed rushed in, just as Kira's cries turned guttural. She clutched Luma back to her chest and retreated to a dark corner, hunched over in visible agony. "Clear the area," Emily barked as staff ushered guests away. But Linda stood frozen. "That's pain," she whispered through tears. "I've seen that face in human mothers. She's trying to tell us something." A full emergency exam revealed the truth. Hidden beneath Kira's thick fur was a fast-growing tumor, so aggressive that it had evaded earlier detection. But that wasn't the only shock. Kira's blood work showed traces of unregistered immunosuppressants, chemicals not used by the zoo. Someone had been injecting her with experimental drugs. Emily's world shattered. "This isn't stress?" she said aloud. "This is sabotage. What you have whispered in the ear in inner rooms will be proclaimed upon the housetops." She stormed into her office and pulled up 3 months of medical supply logs. Something didn't add up. Sedatives were disappearing fast, but pain. Meds were barely touched. "This can't be right," Jake said, his hands shaking. Dr. Reed looked grim. "We've been lied to," he said. What was supposed to be a touching animal story had turned into a shocking conspiracy. Marcus Graves, the zoo's new research director, summoned them to the lab. He greeted them with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Kira's being moved to a special care facility," he said. Emily's heart pounded. "She needs treatment," she snapped. "Not relocation." But Graves didn't flinch. "She's an ideal candidate for our research program. The tumor is unfortunate, but it gives us a chance to test accelerated evolution compounds." The air left the room. Emily felt like she'd been punched in the chest. "You've been experimenting on her?" she said. He didn't deny it. "Sacrifices must be made," he said coldly. "Imagine what we could do if we could increase primate intelligence." "What does it profit a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul?" Emily hit record on her phone. Jake backed her up with printed copies of altered logs. As they confronted Graves, a folder slipped from his hands, photographs of other gorillas at different zoos, each with matching tumors. "How many have you killed for your research?" Emily asked, her voice breaking. Then came the final horror. Emergency lights flashing near Kira's enclosure. Something was happening. Something irreversible. Love doesn't need a voice. It speaks in sacrifice. She demanded answers. The words cut through the humid air of the zoo's back hallway like a blade. Emily stood firm, her voice shaking but clear, facing Nathan Graves, the man who had betrayed the very animals he was paid to protect. Graves offered a cold, twisted smile that chilled her to the bone. "Protection can't have proof walking around," he said darkly. "By morning, no sign of experiments. Just a sad accident. Mother gorilla became dangerous. Had to be put to sleep." Emily gasped, unable to believe the words that left his lips. But before he could finish, she was already running. Her boots slammed against the concrete as Jake followed right behind her, adrenaline and dread crashing through their veins. They didn't need more words. They knew Kira, the mother gorilla who had once tried to give her baby to a human, was in grave danger. Behind them, Graves calmly lifted his phone and dialed security. "2 workers breaking rules," he lied. "Heading toward the gorillas. Consider them fired immediately. Rescue the weak and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked." But what Graves didn't know was that Emily had already sent every shred of damning evidence, medical logs, voice recordings, photos of tumors, and emails to Linda Suarez, the retired nurse, who had witnessed Kira's soul cry through the glass, and to her brother, a top investigative journalist. As Emily and Jake sprinted through the night toward the enclosure, the zoo around them no longer felt like a sanctuary. It felt like a battlefield. The paved paths turned into rivers of shadow under the harsh glare of emergency lights. Shadows flickered like ghosts across the grass. At the edge of the gorilla zone, men in unfamiliar animal doctor uniforms moved with mechanical calmness. "They're not our vets?" Jake panted. I don't recognize any of them, called Dr. Reed, Emily gasped. Get trusted staff and the police now. And then, like a blaze of righteous fury, they saw Herlinda Suarez standing at the gate, her frail body shielding the truth. She was arguing with security guards, her voice cutting through the chaos. I'm a witness, she cried. That gorilla was trying to communicate something this morning. She needs help. A guard grabbed her arm roughly, but Linda didn't flinch. I've already called the newspapers. They're on their way. How are you going to explain testing? On endangered animals? Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. Emily's phone buzzed. A text from Linda's brother read, Story going live in 5 minutes. Officials notified. Emily turned to Jake, eyes blazing. Keep them busy, she ordered. Remember that backup power drill we practiced? Jake grinned despite the tension. Time to go dark. He vanished into the shadows toward the generator station. Emily, meanwhile, approached the enclosure confidently, flashing her ID. Headkeeper, she declared. What's going on here? One of the fake vets turned toward her, syringe in hand. Emergency procedure, he lied. The female gorilla is dangerous. But before he could take another step, the entire zoo went black, pitch black. The floodlights died. Confused voices filled the air like a rising storm. Footsteps pounded. Radio crackles overlapped with shouts. And then, in the darkness, Kira's call, a guttural, soul-deep cry of alarm. She knew danger had arrived. Emily surged forward, trusting her memory to guide her through the familiar layout. She slipped past confused men in the shadows and reached the keeper's side entrance. Her keycard beeped, still working. Graves hadn't locked her out yet. Inside the gorilla housing unit, Kira crouched in the far corner, breathing heavily, clutching Luma tightly. The flicker of emergency lights caught the whites of her wide, intelligent eyes. It's okay, girl, Emily whispered, voice trembling as she stepped into the room. I'm here to help you. A flashlight beam cut through the dark. But this one didn't bring fear. It was Dr. Reed, flanked by 2 Seattle police officers. Hands up, the officer shouted. Nobody move, Seattle PD. More lights appeared behind them, flashing reds and blues. Outside, Linda stood on the lawn surrounded by TV crews and flashing cameras. They've been testing on endangered animals, she declared. We have proof, we have footage, and we're not backing down. Graves stormed in, red-faced, veins bulging. This is a zoo emergency, he barked. These officers have no authority. But then came a voice from the shadows, calm and commanding. Actually, they do. An FBI agent stepped forward, badge gleaming under the emergency lighting. Nathan Graves, you're under arrest for illegal animal testing, medical fraud, and multiple violations of the Endangered Species Act. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Emily didn't hear Graves being cuffed. Her entire focus was on Kira. The mother gorilla let out a soft, mournful sound. Dr. Reed knelt beside her, opening his medical bag. Real medical team is coming, he said. Emily, keep her calm. Kira's deep brown eyes met Emily's. Recognition flashed. And then, slowly, the gorilla reached out, not to give her baby away, but to touch Emily's arm. It was the gentlest of touches, a sign of trust. A thank you, Emily wept. The next hours moved in a blur of medical teams. Testing and emergency treatments. Blood work confirmed their worst fears. Experimental chemicals had triggered rapid tumor growth while dismantling Kira's immune system. But there was hope. Now that the substances were out of her body, her healing could begin. Real healing. By dawn, Graves's entire operation had been exposed. Investigators uncovered a horrific network, multiple zoos, a pharmaceutical company, and a secret partnership exploiting endangered animals as test subjects. The news broke nationally within hours. Zoo conspiracy exposed, illegal experiments on endangered gorillas. Animal rights organizations mobilized instantly. Protests erupted. Oversight committees were formed. Zoo policies rewritten. The righteous care for the needs of their animals. But the kindest acts of the wicked are cruel. 1 week later, Emily stood at the viewing window once more. Kira lay peacefully in the soft straw, her eyes bright. Luma nestled beside her. The tumor was shrinking. Real medicine was working. Jake walked up holding a tablet. Her blood works clean, he smiled. And the board just approved something new, the Kira Project. A sanctuary for recovery and dignity. Linda stood beside Emily, her eyes glassy. She knew, she whispered. That day when she reached out with her baby. She knew she was sick. She was asking for help. And she believed we would answer. Emily nodded, heart full. She believed right. Across the country, the story became a symbol of resilience, of justice, of wild intelligence. Documentaries followed. Zoo regulations were reformed. The pharmaceutical company was fined millions, redirected to gorilla conservation. Graves and his accomplices would spend years behind bars, but the greatest change couldn't be measured in headlines or court sentences. It happened in people's hearts. Parents showed their children the video of Kira reaching out. Students wrote essays about her. New laws were named after her. Her face, gentle, determined, noble, became the face of change. Kira and Luma thrived in their new sanctuary. Luma grew strong under her mother's loving eyes, unaware of the near fate she escaped. Visitors who knew the story would weep silently at the glass. They didn't see animals anymore, they saw souls, and on special days, Kira would come to the glass and place her hand there, not in fear, not in desperation, but in friendship. A mother's love knows no boundaries, not even species, not even silence. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, subscribe and share. Let the world know what a gorilla's touch can teach us about humanity.